God created us to occupy a natural world that was moving forward in linear time. But yeah, eternity, we will be freed from the chains of time, linear time. But until that day, when when the rebels are destroyed.
Right now we live in time-space.
Yes.
But you're saying we may not always live in time-space.
Right. And again, as we're learning, thanks to brilliant scientists and physicists like Barry Setterfield and the late lamented Lambert Dolphin, time is not a constant. The speed of light is not a constant. Yeah, getting our heads around this is almost impossible.
But we as humans...
That's because we don't comprehend the mind of God.
That's right. We as humans want to interpret time and how much there was at the beginning and how much there is, based on our understanding of how there is now. We're limited and completely stuck to this life, this experience called human life that means that every day means 24 hours and all these things. So everything that we identify has to be we think it has to be described in those same terms. But it's funny because you're talking about this early time when something went whoop and something happened to the earth that was big, catastrophic, awful. It's possible that that happened outside of time as well, because linear time doesn't even kick in until the creation of Adam, as far as we know. So prior to Adam, all this stretching of time and all the different things happening in space, what hubris that we would come forward and say everything has to fall into our scientific understanding of today, including the dinosaurs. Now, I don't mean to change the subject or redirect, but what I find really, really interesting is how not necessarily only Lucifer or the Satan, or Hasatan, or all of these different Old and New, actually, Testament understandings of the name of the enemy. There's a lot more than just the one big bad guy going on in this narrative. But when Tom and I first started to write before Genesis, we decided we wanted to look at who this character could possibly be. And not just the 5 I wills, I will ascend, I will be like the Most High, but also look at who these enemies, plural, could have potentially become. And we get to this weird moment where no matter how you parse it, the spirit of iniquity is always linked with this serpentine character. Now, it may not have, like Derek, you and I have talked about it in the past. Is Lucifer the same as Shamayaza? Are they all big one bad guy? Maybe not. The scholars don't agree on that, and I tend to think that you're probably right when you're seeing multiple bad guys, multiple falls, multiple events, all kind of culminating into what the church just sees as the Satan, the Lucifer. But without going into that, it's the same spirit of rebellion and iniquity that drives them all, and all of them continue to just, no matter how you look at it, they get joined back into this serpentine spirit. And now you have the dinosaurs. Okay, let's give it to science. 66 million years ago, if that's what you want to insist on, fine. If somebody in the young Earth group wants to say that they actually only died, 6,000 years ago, whatever time it was, okay, they were. The science acknowledges that originally dinosaurs were not big and terribly great, as the word Dinosauros actually does mean. It means terribly big or terribly great lizard. What originally was something about the size of a German shepherd, and scientists believe that they were vegetarian. So, was the dinosaur and all that implies originally part of God's great design? Why are they not here now? Everybody says, we've got all these Christian t-shirts that are funny, like they didn't get the memo that today's the day that the ark is taking off. The ark took off without them. Whatever. They did make it on the ark, but then the ark landed at Mount Ararat. There wasn't enough vegetation to keep them alive and sustain their life. So it's almost like in that theory, God kept them and he sustained them for this entire boat trip, but then he couldn't figure out a way to feed them after they landed. There's just all these different ideas that are just kind of funny. That's why we have the funny t-shirts.
Right.
What if the original dinosaur, we're talking about the remains, the fossils of which the scientists now say was about the size of a German shepherd at its largest and very likely to be only vegetarian. What if that was the design of God? And what if the Satan, who we discover over here in Genesis 6 verses 1 through 4, who completely had it out to warp the human DNA to cut off the messianic line so that Jesus could never be born. And they made this whole weird thing where the fallen angels were with the women, and this leading interpretation understands that they did in fact corrupt the human line, and that's where the flood happened first. What if that happened to the original dinosaur?